Due to the explicit content, viewers' discretion is advised. Now then, today I'm going to teach you guys how to become an expert at fighting in the dark. Now remember, one thing you always have to know, not that, but one thing you guys always have to know before you fight in the dark, that some people who really don't have patience for fighting in the dark, they will threaten to turn on the lights and whoop your butt. Do not let this affect you in any way. Here's what you do to make sure that doesn't happen. You go to your electric panel or your power box, whatever, and you cut the power to the whole house. This way, the only possible way they can turn on a single light is if they're used to your house setup and they know exactly where the power panels are. And they know which switches to turn on. And they know which breakers to flip. Now, one thing you should know. Now, when it comes to fighting in the dark, it's never a good idea to fight in the dark without somebody else standing by in case anything happens to you on your first time doing it. Have somebody standing in another room on standby in case anything happens to you, at least on your first time. Don't ever fight in the dark by yourself until you're a professional or an expert or better. Because if something happens to you and you're all by yourself, chances are nobody's going to know, nobody will be able to save you, and nobody will be able to take on the rest of the fight for you. Now, also, you may want to practice fighting in broad daylight. Because if you can fight in the light, chances are you could probably fight in the dark just as good, if not better. And then the next step is trying to fight with dim light. This way, you know what you're doing. Now the scary part is that now you're ready to start fighting in the dark. But the scariest part is you don't know what the other person might have. They could have a gun, they can have a knife, hell, they can even have a bomb strapped to their back and you just won't know. Which is why it's scary and dangerous, because there's no telling what the other person has. This is why you have to be careful. Now, on to the training. Please excuse Facebook for blowing up my phone right now. Now, on to the training. So first off, like I said, start off in broad daylight. This way you can get an idea how you're supposed to do it. Second, do it with very dim light so you almost get it. And then you're ready to start practicing in the dark with very little light. Then you're ready to start practicing in pitch black darkness to become an expert. Now, if I were you, I'd learn how to use martial arts in the dark too. You know, karate, kung fu, and all that. And tai chi, whatever. Now, I'd also learn apocalypse training in the dark and combat training in the dark too, just to be on the safe side. This way, nobody can mess with you. Now, you want a little secret from me? You probably do. You're probably going to want to hear this. When you're fighting in the dark, you always want to know your house right off the back of your hand. This way, you don't trip and fall over things. This way, you have room to move around without tripping and falling over things and possibly getting hurt before the fight even starts. But you want to know the real secret to fighting in the dark? Stand really still and pay close attention and be quiet, very quiet. Because chances are, if they're wearing loud shoes, you can hear them moving around and you know where they're at. But if you pay close enough attention, you can kind of see in the dark, just enough to see something move. Yes, well, that's how you know where they are. Now, on to the next step. You always want to make sure somebody knows what you're doing at all times. And you always want to make sure somebody knows what you're doing at all times. Because if something happens to you, and if they don't hear from you or see you in a certain amount of time, they know that you didn't make it. Now, you want to get help. You don't want to fight in the dark alone, at least until you're an expert at it. Always have somebody standing outside the room listening in case something goes wrong, or in case something goes sideways, because you never know. Something might happen to you, guys, okay? Something could happen to you when you're doing that. What I'm teaching you how to do is very, very dangerous, okay? It's one of the most dangerous things you could possibly do, okay? So I'm giving you all these warnings for your safety. If you're going to do that, be careful. Be extremely careful. Be extremely positively careful. Because the last thing I want is to hear that one of you tried this and got hurt. The last thing I want is to hear that one of you died from this. And my dog just threw up. Excellent. Now, the last thing you want to hear is that you may not have it down. The last thing you want to hear, though, is your friend's voice calling for help from the darkness or screaming for help. That's why you got to be quick. And you got to know the house right off the back of your hand. This way you can move around in the dark and not have to worry about tripping over things. So try walking around your house multiple times in broad daylight so that you know where you're going, at least until you know where everything is. And examine what moves and what doesn't move. So if you do manage to see someone move in the darkness or something, then you know what it is. Okay, the ceiling fan moves, and that moves, but that doesn't move. So if you see something move over there, you know who it is. Make sure that person that I told you about that stands outside the room and listens in on you, make sure that person is not inside the room with you when you fight, because the last thing you want to hear is your friend screaming for help because you accidentally hit him. Remember, you're fighting in the dark, all right? All you can see is this. That's literally all you can see. No, all you see is this. That's literally all you see. You don't see anything else except for this. This right here is all you see. So you don't know where anybody or anything is. The best thing you can do is learn to be careful so you can avoid accidentally hurting people. That's literally all you see. You don't want to hurt your friend because he's the only one that can help you if something goes sideways. Because your friend is the only person that can help you if something goes wrong. So if you hurt your friend, you're done. And when you're an expert, you can do this by yourself. Only when you're an expert. And the last thing I would want to do is encourage you kids watching this to do something like this. No, I'm not trying to encourage anything. I'm actually just teaching you guys for self-defense. Now, the best thing that you can do is learn to find other ways to deal with things like karate, tai chi, kung fu, martial arts, anything like that other than fighting in the dark. Only use this if you absolutely have to. Okay? I don't want to hear that any of you tried this and got hurt. I also don't want to hear from your relatives that you did this and got killed. Because it is possible. You can get killed and you can get hurt really badly if you do this. So I don't want you guys trying this unless you absolutely have to. Alright? And that's all the time we got for today. Hopefully you heed my warnings before doing this, because this can be very, very dangerous if you don't. Also, if you're going to fight in the dark, you have to have sharp hearing so that you can hear things move. So you know, what's this sound? What does this sound like? What's that sound? What does that sound like? This way, if your enemy has loud shoes and they try to move around to find you, you'll hear it and you'll be prepared. And like I said, that's all the time we have for right now. I'll see you guys in the next video. And try not to get yourselves killed with this. Okay? Good. Like and subscribe.